Hello folks, the Y Guy here again. Welcome to my home on this very cold 10-degree temperature out here this morning. The name of this video is called The Y Guy Asks, Why did Jesus come if not to save us from hell? You know, that's a question that's been asked by I don't know how many different people over the years. And you know, it's a reasonable, logical question if you've been indoctrinated in the hell doctrine. Of course, that's without saying, right? Well, I woke up with this idea this morning of an answer. And, you know, Jesus answered this question himself in a prayer that he taught his disciples. It's famously known as the Lord's Prayer. And one line out of it says, "May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." That's really important because the contrast here isn't heaven versus hell, which the Christendom makes it out to be, but instead it's heaven versus earth. Okay, because in the Genesis story, earth was created. Hell was never mentioned. Not only is it not mentioned in the Genesis story, or the whole book of Genesis, the creation of hell hasn't been mentioned anywhere within the entire Bible, in any scripture, anywhere, any translation. That should bring up a red flag, okay? Now, so what is God's will to be done on earth as it is in heaven? Well, since everyone is, quote, saved in heaven according to Christendom, maybe the answer is to be saved. Well, then the next question would be to be saved from what? How about, let's use a little bit of Christian thinking and say from wrath. Aha! Now here's where the rubber meets the road. Because wrath in the Greek, in a verse I'm going to share, means our own violent passions. Okay? In Romans 5, 8, and 9, it says, "But God demonstrates his own love towards us in that while we were yet sinners," and previously in this chapter it says, we were ungodly. Now get this, God demonstrates his own love towards us while we were still in that kind of frame of mind, okay? He demonstrates it. Demonstrates is a huge word. How did he demonstrate it? It continues by saying, Christ died for us. While we were still ungodly. All right? And then it continues, and the next verse says, "Much more then, having now been justified by our belief, we shall be saved from ... No, it doesn't say that. It says, but now that we're justified by our confession of our mouth, that Jesus is Lord, that we shall be saved from wrath. No, it doesn't say that either. It says, now been justified by his blood. We shall be saved from wrath through him. Now, I'm hoping you're catching this because, like I said, wrath means violent passion in this. Now, most modern Bibles inserted two little words right after the word wrath of God. They put of God in there. Now, King James actually got this one right, which shocks me. All the Greek Bibles and King James agree in this one verse. The Greek rarely agrees with King James and a lot of other verses, but this one they happen to agree. In most modern Bibles it says, much more than having now been justified by his blood, we shall be saved from the wrath of God through him. You know, the same God who's going to have wrath towards us, who previously demonstrated his own love towards us, now we got to be saved from him? Did you see the absurd, the asinine of that doctrine that's out there, and they use this verse to prove it, and yet... So, you know, be aware that the Latins inserted of God after the word wrath, and it's not in the Greek, nor in any original manuscripts, nor in the King James, for that matter, okay? So you got to put that in your thinker to think about, all right? So does anyone actually believe that we're going to be dealing with our own violent passions? Things of the flesh, things of the carnal mind, while in heaven? And in closing, that's why Jesus said, let your will, let all be saved from their own violent passions. That's God's will, for us to be saved from that, so that we can be godly rather than ungodly. That we'll be saved from our own violent passions. Let that will be done on earth as it is in heaven, because in heaven, folks, that's how it's going to be, I believe, you know. Well, anyway, in closing this video out, I just got to do my usual. I wrote a book called In Defense of God's Love. I'll leave a, in the comment section, I'll leave a link to Amazon. And consider looking me up on Facebook under the Why Guy group. Also, you know, look me up under a name of John Anthony Jones on Facebook as well. One is private, the other one is not. The Why Guy is private. Let me see. What am I forgetting? Oh yeah, consider subscribing if you haven't. Blah blah blah. Do the thumbs up, thumbs down, blah blah blah, and do be polite when you leave comments if you don't agree with anything I've said, and we can have a civil discussion about it. Thank you for viewing.